What's up, everybody? This is the officially unofficial Geek Channel. Welcome to the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. So I wasn't here last week doing this because I didn't feel like it. I'm just gonna be real with you. Didn't feel like it, didn't do it. So that's okay. That's okay. Because here's the thing. I'm here this week, and guys, I have 11 comics to talk to you about. So let's go ahead and get into it. Not too much is happening on here. We didn't do the What's Happening Wednesday last week because I didn't want to do it without Joe. So we're gonna wait and do it because he had a little bit of a stomach bug. Not pretty, but he's starting to feel better. So we are still going to bring you our extravaganza on The Crow. Stay tuned because I don't want to say it's exactly happening like on a date and then we have to wait until the next day for whatever reason. So it's happening very soon. Anywho, 11 comics. Guys, 11 comics. So let's cut the jibber jabber and let's get into it. How about that? As always, I rank these from my least favorite to my most favorite. Um, and I'm gonna try to keep. I'm gonna try not to go off on a tangent about any of these, even though some of them I want to. Some of them, you know. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's take a drink of water and let's get into talking about the comics. I'm wearing Happy Halloween Eve, the Addams Family t-shirt. I just got this. Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? Um, I got it from Torrid. It was clearance at Torrid. And I had, because my birthday was on October 1st, I had a $10 coupon that I had used. I had to use before the end of the month. So I got an Addams Family t-shirt. So happy Halloween Eve. Let's get into the comics. As always, like I already mentioned, this is my least favorite to my most favorite. In Spoilertastic view, meaning I'm going to talk about everything and anything and whatever I'm thinking about each of these. So, groovy, groovy, groovy. So, first on the hit parade, a non hit for me. And this is for the second month in a row, guys. I'm not really into this. And it pains me to say that I am not into Tim Drake's Robin. This is Tim Drake Robin number 2. Um, I don't like the art for this kind of book. Riley Rossmo on the art. Um, and here's that unique experience where you like the art, but not for that book. And that's exactly the way I felt when Riley Rossmo was drawing Harley Quinn. I see that kind of art working on the kind of like um, direct to graphic novel young adult series about Tim Drake. I see that working there, not for this. Now that's my gripe involving the art. Now, the story by Megan Fitzsimmons. It's okay. So like my parents said, never to say anything. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So let's see here. Can I say anything nice about the story of this book? It's ambitious. It's ambitious. And you gotta love an ambitious story that's not trying to be like everything else. Sure. However, um, even an ambitious story has to make sense. There's a lot of hopping around in this, and the setup and the way things are placement in the book um, gets very confusing. And I am seeing this from other people. I am talking to other people. They feel the same way. Um, there's a little bit of confusion on exactly direction. Um, and also direction as in flow. Okay. So direction as in flow and direction as in content. There's a lot of hopping around, and it's not clear where this is going. I'm not sure I'm liking the concept enough to continue with this. Um, so I don't know. You guys will find out next month if I read Tim Drake #3 or if I don't. Because something else is coming out. I mean, we got some stuff coming out actually that's like new stuff that seems kind of interesting to me, that's coming out in November. So we'll find out. We'll find out if I give Tim Drake another try, but for right now it is not looking good. Um I I'm a person that's a thinker, and I'm constantly thinking. If I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is ambitious, but I'm not exactly sure how to read this, that's a problem. Yeah. Um so let's see here. The next book we're going to talk about is #4, The Variants #4. Phil Noto and Gail Simone on the writing, Phil Noto on the art. The art is absolutely beautiful, and I love this cover, guys. I love this kind of retro look to the cover. Um, but it is getting a little bit confusing. Um, so like all of a sudden Charles Xavier's rolling up in there, and it's like, you have to forgive yourself because the purple man is actually you. This is what I'm like looking at here, and I'm seeing this. I mean, there's some beautiful like art moments in here, like right here. Like all of a sudden Charles Xavier's rolling up in there, and I don't know why. I don't get it. But it's okay. So like you have this moment where you're sitting there, and all of a sudden she comes to the realization that the Jewel version of variant of her was showing up to mess with her daughter, mess with her family. And then that obviously causes, obvious problems. So then a whole bunch of other variants show up at the end. We have one issue left of this. And what would have been interesting is to get the concept of the idea of her having to forgive herself. We could, I don't know. I think that this battle could have been won without having to do the whole, you know, variance thing. Um I love the kind of, the interaction and dialogue between her and the other variants. That is a testament to the writing of Gail Simone, that is making it interesting that I am going to finish this damn thing. So there's only one issue left. All right. And I want to like it, but I want to like it more than I am. That's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about Action Comics #1048. I one hate this cover. I hate it so much. And I figured it out why I'm not liking these covers. And it's because Steve Beach. Um, okay, so I'm gonna show my age right now, and I'm gonna tell you guys that Superman's face on this reminds me, um, oh my god, like way back, probably in the 80s. I don't think it was in the 90s. Yeah, it was in the 80s because it had to do quite a bit with the Reagan administration. But there was a marionette puppet show called DC Follies. And I think that Superman here looks like the DC Follies, younger version of the DC Follies, Ronald Reagan. And if you know me at all, you know how much I don't like Ronald Reagan. So, one, all those puppets on that show were like freaky and weird looking. One. Two, don't like Ronald Reagan. And it looks like fucking Ronald Reagan wearing a Superman costume. And it's really funny because the DC Follies, I just thought of this, guys. It looks like, okay, so Superman looks like the DC Follies version of Ronald Reagan. Okay? The puppet version of Ronald Reagan. And I believe in the Genesis video Land of Confusion has those same puppets, right? And the puppet of Ronald Reagan eventually is dressed up like Superman. Oh my god. Okay, Carrie, don't lose your shit. Don't lose your shit. Okay, so the cover looks like DC Follies puppets, right? Um okay. So with the cover looking like DC Follies puppets, and what is with the light on the video that looks really weird? My lighting looks really weird and it keeps on going in and out, guys. I apologize. But okay, so the cover looks like Ronald Reagan is a DC Folly and in the Land of Confusion video for Genesis. Okay, but what about story content, okay? So it's not this low on my scale just for this. One, we have this thing that the big two like to do where they have the let's try to create a series where there is no series, or a crossover where there's not much of a crossover. And this is a part of the whole like Kal-El Returns. Kal-El Returns Part 3. And it's supposed to, like, the Kal-El Returns books are supposed to be with Action Comics and Superman Son of Kal-El, but they're two separate stories. They're not really connecting at all. And here we've got Metallo. Thank you, sweetie. Metallo. That's Joe. Hey. Um, thank you. Metallo is imprisoned, and Lex Luthor is trying to get him to help him with Superman in the because Lex Luthor is, surprise surprise, upset that Superman brought his work home with him. Basically, Lex Luthor thinks that Superman should leave his work at work and not bring it home with him. It doesn't seem unreasonable. It doesn't. Lex Luthor is not seeming unreasonable here. Oh, okay, all right. Superman, of course, has brought Warworld back towards Earth, brought his work home with him. So he can keep a closer eye on it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Superman is still in the right, guys. Because he freed all the people off of Warworld from being slaves, and he's like, man, I want to make sure nobody fucks with that. So I'm bringing my work home with me. And people are not happy about that. Um, People meaning Lex Luthor. Now, that's not the only problem here, guys. So we have the two kids from Warworld that have come back with Superman, Clark Kent Superman. Because I count John Kent as Superman now, so I have to differentiate here. Um, and they go to the zoo, right? And while they're at the zoo, the new gods show up. And they're all upset about Olgren's fire. And they think Superman has it, and then they find out that the kid has it. And I'm not exactly sure. And I'm sure this might get brought up in another issue. If I missed something, guys, please let me know in the comments down below. But if that, I'm not completely sure why the new gods are so upset about Olgren's fire and why they have to have the kid. But as it was pointed out to me, maybe this is an ongoing series, Carrie, and maybe they'll explain that later. I think maybe I wanted them to explain it right away. That might be part of my problem. But oh wow. Overall, it was not horrible, but it was not for something that's kind of like a mini crossover event in a time period that's supposed to be really kind of like um formative of the storyline, considering we know things are going to be changing soon because we are going to see an end, just a couple issues to Son of Kal-El. We're going to see a format change to Action Comics, where it's going to become more of an anthology thing like Batman Urban Legends. We're going to see a change to the Superman title. We're gonna have all this happening, which means there's got to be some wrap up happening. And that's probably why I'm expecting more information to come. I don't want to see if a story's worth writing and worth reading. I don't want to see it rushed. And that's a worry I have involving this. Um, so we'll see what happens there. Um, we have a number one, guys. We have a new number one, and that is Punchline the Gotham Game number one. Um, I love the Derek Chew covers, and he was recently doing the Harley Quinn run, and I have all of those. So we got the Derek Chew here for Punchline the Gotham Game number one, and basically what we've got going on here is Teeny Howard, and is it Blake or Blaine Howard? Hold on one second, guys. Let me confirm the name of the writers here so that I don't look like a complete a-hole. Do, 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 do. Give me one moment so I don't look like an asshole. Where's the title page on this goddamn thing? This is weird. Hold on. Is it in the end? Because yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so is the title page in the end or what is it? I have to fight to fucking find it. Like, come on, give your writers proper. Ah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so it's Teeny and Blake Howard. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Blaine or Blake. Teeny and Blake Howard. which if you are reading Catwoman, that is the person that is writing Catwoman currently. Um, Glabe Melenkov, artist Luis Guerrero colors, and I mentioned that because the art in this is kind of really cool. Um, I really dig the cover or the artwork in this. Like especially you've got this really cool moment right here at the beginning of Punchline. It reminded me of that. Trying to find the list of the creators. Um, so Punchline is out of jail. She was acquitted, and she is now got an idea um, where she is, and this gets kind of lost on people because it has been a while since it's really been brought up, but she is a mastermind involving chemistry. She's developed this drug made out of completely legal things, all combined together, called XO. Um, and you can buy it in and sell it and everything like that. So she has that going and she wants to put together the uh, the Royal Flush Gang again. So she's in contact with them, and basically what she wants to do is she wants to. What I'm understanding is she wants to run a drug ring, um, and yeah, she's talking to the Royal Flush Gang. I love how she kind of gets their attention by the king and queen of the Royal Flush Gang, Heart Cell, and like they're like we're retired, and she's like, I'm gonna make you a deal you can't refuse to get you back in the game. And the way she gets an audience with them is she pretends that she wants to join them. They want to do some. They want to have a threesome with Punchline, and Punchline pretends that she wants to be a part of their threesome to get their attention. Um, so that's basically the comic, and it's. I believe this is going to be a 6-part series, and it's going to be. This is the first issue. Now, like I said, to tell a story, I am hoping that we get a little bit more bang for our buck coming with the second issue because I am going to probably check out that second issue. I'm going to give it a little bit more chance to give us more bang for our buck because with DC doing this with a lot of their books doing like the 6-issue series, it's like you got to tell a story in that 6th issue. And the thing is like that's not unfounded, but in that first issue, you got to put out, something to get the people to want to come back. And then you also have to think about the fact that you have to tell the complete story in six issues. And if it's already starting out where it's like, okay, so she wants to become a drug ring, um, she wants to become, like this, that, and the other. She wants to put together the Royal Flush Gang, which is all interesting things to build upon. I'm gonna give you that. Um, I don't know. I'm in writing my own stuff that I just started writing. I plan on trying to tell a story in 6 issues, and I'm kind of like drawing inspiration from what I'm reading as well. And it's giving me stuff to think about. I'm not gonna lie. It's giving me stuff to think about. The next book that we're gonna talk about, another 6-issue series. This is the second one in the series. Is Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. Um, Again, I'm being told that I need to be freaking patient. Um, the thing is like this is this is a solid book. It is. It really is. And I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the art. I enjoy the whole, you know, zombie World War II story. The coloring is in, intense and beautiful for it being a story that is basically zombies. Um, like, okay, so again, we have Bruce Campbell, writer, um, Eduardo Rizzo, artist. Let's see here, um, Chris, Christian Rossi, Christian. Yeah, I think it's Christian Rossi. Rob, the letterer. But yeah, I mean, they're moving through. I guess why I can look at it this way is they have um, a specific mission that they have to accomplish. And you know what? That mission can be accomplished in 6 issues. It can be, and considering what they do have to do, I guess the see, I'm like changing my mind about certain things just as I'm talking about it. The pacing probably seems like it's working out better in Sergeant Rock than it is for Punchline, which is why Sergeant Rock ended up higher on my list than Punchline. Um, yeah, the pacing is better in that. The pacing is not completely to my liking, but it's much better than what you're seeing in other books in the similar situation, um, where you have a limited amount of time to tell an entire story. This isn't like it's an ongoing story. Let's talk about Detective Comics now. 1065. Well, of course, you guys know it's Rom V, Raphael Albuquerque, and Dave. Is it Dave Stewart on the? Hold on one second. Gotta find the. Hold on, 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 hold on. Yep, Dave Stewart, colorist. Um, there are moments in this that I'm really liking. Um, there are moments in this where it's still moving kind of slow. Um, the moments that I'm liking are are the are the thing that's putting this higher on my list. Um, there's moments that it still feels like, and here's the thing, I'm gonna be really real with you all. Okay, Detective Comics is an ongoing, duh. Um, I'm being patient with it, because I'm just thinking about the structure and things that are there that are great, and it's one of those things where it is a, I described it earlier, it's like a slowly opening, slowly blooming rose. Okay? And these little moments that are happening are just so gosh darn cool that it keeps me going with it. Um and also the clues are there that this is something that's going to be going on for a while. This is something that's going to build and pay off, and it's going to take a while to get to that build and to fulfill the build and fulfill the payoff. It is going to take a while. I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. Um, this is Gotham Nocturne Overture Part 4. Now, if you have any experience in musical theater, opera, anything like that, you know that the overture is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. When you have um, Prince Arkham, okay, showing up, and there's violence happening between um, someone, the ghost of Ra's al Ghul, is his team, and you've got this other, you know, all that happening. The prince is getting, sent off, and then you have Batman showing up. Batman, second guessing himself, fighting. Um, and you have the internal, like, talking, the internal narration from Batman, and him working out everything in his head. I like that. I like the underwater stuff, with Batman and who he's fighting. One of my favorite goddamn moments is when Batman makes a decision to cause a shock, electric shock in the water, and he has to kind of like judge how he's going to get out of that mess. Um, and when he's trying to do that, he's getting pulled down by Barbados and into the water. Now, whether Barbados is actually there or not, well, I mean, it's Barbados, guys. And there's this, moment where the style of the lettering changes, and everything like that, and it's really interesting what's said. Very poetic, very beautiful, which is what you come to accept as normal, poetic writing. Even in the books I like the least from Ron V, there's poetic, nature to it. Um, and then all of a sudden, like, fucking Jim Gordon pulls Batman out when he's drowning. And then there's this moment where he knows that something, Batman is needs help, medical, like, help, but he can't take him to a hospital. Takes him back to his office, right? And he tells the kid from the secondary story in the previous issues, that he was hired to find, tells them, you have to make it completely dark in here, because I have to feel around and I have to bandage him, but I don't want to know who Batman is. I have my thoughts, I have my theories, but I don't actually want to know. And I have to take the cowl off to bandage him. And there's just that wow moment where, like, they're there in the office and he's explaining, and then he sits there and he bandages up Batman, takes the cowl off, bandages up without seeing him, and the kid is like, why are you, why do you care so much about this? And he's like, actually, I learned to care like this from him. Um, the secondary story in here, I'm a little bit confused by it. I'm gonna have to see how that works out. Um, I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the mind of Harvey Dent, and maybe I'm not supposed to know that yet. Secondary story deals a lot with what's going on up here for Harvey Dent. So I think maybe that's one of those things where I'm not supposed to fucking know yet. And the reader, meaning the reader is not supposed to know what the heck's going on with Harvey Dent yet. But we'll have to wait and see. The next book I'm going to talk to you guys about, Jesus Christ. Okay, so we're possibly in the home stretch, maybe. Next book I'm going to talk to you guys about is The Human Target, Book 8. As The Human Target goes, this was a little bit like, it didn't impress me as much as the other books, but it didn't disappoint me either. Okay? So what we got here is a whole week of some of the better books kind of giving us little mini lessons of life. Um and here we really have the whole day where Red Rocket is trying to find out where Guy Gardner is. Now, guys, if we've been reading Human Target, we know exactly where Guy Gardner is. And at this point, Christopher and everyone that's close to him knows the reason he's dying is because of Guy Gardner. And, well, they found that out in the last issue, but several, like a while back, he actually killed Guy Gardner. Um, and he's pretending to not know where Guy Gardner is, but Red Rocket is trying to find out and keeps on like knocking him out and waking him up and then knocking him out and then waking him up. Spends all day doing that. And every time he gets woken up, Christopher Chance gets woken up, he asks what time it is. And you find out that by the time Ice is able to put in like that diversion for him, making it seem like, oh, Guy Gardner's A-okay, just off doing something. It has now wasted his entire day 8 out of the 12 days that he has left. And it was just like the whole like, wow. So like, don't take any of that time for granted kind of thing. So for even being kind of like one of the slower issues of the Human Target, that actually was still pretty poignant story. The idea of having time is going to come up later on. We are in our last 4 books, guys. I'm trying to keep this under an hour. I'm going to tell you that right now. Next book I'm going to talk to you about is Harley Quinn number 23. Harley Quinn was killed, and she was brought back to life in the last issue by Kevin dragging her to a Lazarus pit. And now everyone is like, oh, what the fuck is going to happen? Harley made a comment about coming back from the dead, and now she's got a bunch of people. She's got a bunch of people worshiping her like she's a god, and it's like a cult. Legit, guys. You think I'm joking right now? So yeah, here's her cult. um. And Kevin shows up, and he's just like, he's kind of like, what the fuck, you need to take care of yourself, and the Lazarus pit, we were told it was unpredictable, and somebody tried to fucking kill you, and do you know what I went through to bring you back to life? And this sucks that you're, fucking around here. And she's sorry for that, and she realizes, Kevin is taking it way more seriously, you know. And when they get done having that moment, then you have Damian Wayne show up because he heard about how Harley went into the Lazarus pit, and he knows, and just like anyone else knows, that the Lazarus pit is not stable, and people go into the Lazarus pit, and it can have a variety of results. So he comes and he fights with Harley and realizes, okay, so Harley's still okay. And he's like, if you start noticing anything, you need to do something about it, like changes to yourself. And she gets this idea in her head that everyone automatically thinks that she's going to go there, that she's going to become Bad Harley again. And people don't trust her to not do that. But you also have this underlining concern that she wants to know who tried to kill her, who actually killed her. Okay? She wants to know. Um, so at this point, she's kind of like, I'm going to be ruthless in trying to figure out who killed me. Because, yeah, who wouldn't want to be? Like, and they are aware. You find out in the book they are aware that she's still alive. So we'll see where that goes. Next issue we're going to talk about, surprise, surprise, it is a Vault book. It's called Barbaric Axe to Grind. This is the end of this arc. When I found out that this was going to be the end of that arc, I was suspicious. It's actually a pretty good sized book, guys. I mean, it's a pretty good sized book. But I was suspicious that it was not going to be enough time to take care of this arc, and I was wrong. So Owen and Soren, with the help of Steel, who has in the last issue awakened his vampire um, capabilities to help, is they're trying to get to Gladius. Now, Owen, I forgot to mention, for those of you that are new to Barbaric, Owen is a cursed barbarian that has a talking axe that gets drunk off of blood. Yeah. And the axe is really funny because the axe is just like whatever is going on. It's like if you took the character of Rick from Rick and Morty, right? And you imbued his spirit into the axe. Yeah. So there are people's wheels that are turning here. Probably that are watching this. So like the axe can talk and gets drunk off of blood. So if they get into a battle and he's drinking all the blood, he is very much like having Rick from Rick and Morty. So if you enjoy Rick and Morty, in particularly Rick, and fantasy, you might enjoy Barbaric. Um, so they go and they start by fighting these the orcs. The orcs are kind of like, it's like there's different like different levels to finally get to the big boss, which is Gladios, right? So they get to the big boss, they have a fight, um, and Gladios like basically tosses Owen into hell. Yeah, so at the end of the book where Owen's in hell, but the thing is like Gladius and his Sorcerer Supreme um are trying to get to the axe. And Soren goes and runs and picks up the axe, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, goody gumdrops, you're now the curse that Owen had has now transferred to you." So you have a sorcerer who can fight a little bit, but mostly their power remains with, spells, right? So like D&D, um and now she's got the axe. Um so she has the axe. The curse is transferred to her, and Owen is now in hell. So he has to figure out how to get back from hell. They have to figure out what the hell this means with her having the axe, and yada yada yada. It's just good fun. It's just good fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun read. It's a quick paced read. Even though it does have some size to it, it's quick. Um, and interesting. The art is really just, let's see here. We've got let me run down this. Nathan Gooden is the artist, the colorist, which is honestly, I'm going to tell you one thing. Like, the artist, you know, it's really great, but I think the person that really shines in this art rise is the colorist, and that is Addison Duke. Addison Duke. Okay, so like, let me find you one of the coolest goddamn things. Okay, so one, we got this image of this like tree spirit thing, tree demon thing. It's one of the many levels they had to get through to get to where they needed to be, right? Let me find it. Okay, so the Gladios's sorcerer wants to show Soren what can be. And it's like, oh my god, like the colors? Holy shit. And then you have this like sorcerer war here. Sorcerer battle. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's sick. It's sick in every great way. Look at all of this color. Look at all this goddamn color, guys. Like, god damn. Like, just when you think it's gonna be like mostly just some warm colors, that blue. That blue and green just pops like nobody's fucking business. Like, look at that. And look up here. Like, Jesus. The color makes everything on this. Like, fuck. Look at this. The color makes this shit. Like, some of the most beautiful goddamn shit you will ever see in a comic book right there. That's some good stuff. Morassi, the story, yes, the story surprised me by wrapping up that arc, but yet it's also um, it's a to be continued. It's a cliffhanger, but it wraps up that kind of story nicely with it also being kind of a to be continued thing. I really did enjoy it. And guys, we are down to the last two books. If you know me at all, you know what I'm about ready to talk about. But you're probably wondering, which one's next? And that's a hard one. That was a hard one. That was a hard one, hard one, hard one. Because they both had absolutely wonderful issues. The heart of the writing and like, yeah, the art is absolutely insane in both of these, but the heart at both of these. First one we're going to talk about Batman Beyond the White Knight, issue number 6. Sean Murphy, Dave Stewart. Yeah. So, where we last left our gang here, Jack, Jack Napier, while occupying the mind of Bruce Wayne, got to say everything that he ever wanted to say to Harley. It was one of the most heartfelt things and beautiful. And it was, if you are familiar at all with the entire series, the entire Murphyverse world, you know that the story of Jack Napier and Harley Quinn is way more complex than just having a sociopath clown with, manipulating Harley Quinn. Okay. One of the things that um, Sean Murphy does with his Murphyverse is, rather than something just being crazy, rather than someone just being crazy, rather than someone just being a troublemaker, there is a means to an ends and a reason for all seasons. Okay, right from the beginning, um, when he writes about the White Knight and Batman the White Knight, where the Joker's um, mental illness is helped when he takes medication and he gets help, but when he's not getting help anymore and the medication's not working anymore, um that's when things go south again. And it's like being like, okay, so people are not are not absolutes when it comes to mental illness. And I say that, as somebody that is very close to mental illness, or myself, or with other people. Nobody can operate in absolutes under that ideal, that idea. And sometimes the ideal situation is something you have to work at. And that's a theme that exists throughout all of the Murphyverse, White Knight, Batman White Knight series. Um, and for there to be a moment where, in the last issue, where Harley Quinn gets to, have that moment um, where she gets to have that moment where um, Jack actually gives her, through Batman, through Bruce, excuse me, gives her the due that she's due. Like, that's where we last left it. And now we have like this issue where it's like directly after that, and she wakes up and Bruce wakes up, and it's the two of them. And she explains that um where is it? Last night he and I said the things we never got to say, including our final goodbyes. Jack isn't even real anymore. He's gone. You and I are real. And she talks about um the whole idea of Harley and Bruce. And they have that conversation where um he's just like, I have to go do that, and yeah, I have to go do stuff. She's like, you and I are real. And he's like, I thought a lot about you in Stonegate. I tried to make sense of whatever this was. And in a way, you and I were Joker's biggest victims. So it makes sense that we've become close. But it's not love, it's trauma. Two confused, lonely people reaching out for something familiar. And she says, you're in denial because the idea of Batman and Harley seems crazy to you. And he says, of course it's crazy. You keep saying that you're no longer Batman, so why do you care? And he's like, I have to go, I have work to do. And she's like, you can't keep pushing people away, Bats. She's like, don't he's like, don't call me Bats. And she says to him, you think I call you Bats just to be cute? I call you that because it's who you really are. It brought you what you really needed, a family and loved ones, including me. That's why you're having panic attacks. because you know that denying Batman means being alone and that scares you. You really want to fix things and move forward? Then accept the truth. Forgive yourself for not being perfect and figure out what you really want. And that includes me. She really hands him the keys to the, understanding of everything. And you can tell it really hit a chord because later on when he's talking to Dick Grayson, um, and he's just like, my life changed the minute my parents died. But your parents died and I brought you in, and I thought every once in a while there was this opportunity for you to break free from all this, but then you just kept on going in and in and in. You kept on going in to being this hero. And I was always going to be there, whether you were Dick Grayson or Nightwing or Robin, because that's what has to matter. Um, and he's just like, you will always matter to me, and you are, you matter. Um, there's also some really great moments involving Dick Grayson, and you start to see like this facade kind of fall a little, of him being this, bad GTO guy and blah, 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 right? So that kind of starts to fall, especially when he is encountered with Bruce telling him all this. It starts to fade a little bit, earlier in the issue when he's talking to Barbara and he encounters um, Jason and Gan. Gan is with him. And Barbara and Jason and Gan and all of them are going to have this idea that they're going to help Batman. They're going to help Bruce. So that's going to build into something probably in the next issue. And when Dick Grayson goes to check out what Batman tells him about Derek Powers, he gets in trouble, and Batman, of course, Bruce, is there to help him. Um, and that ends in quite the cliffhanger. But there's some really, one of the things I've really loved about this whole series is the use of the shadows in the artwork. And when there's a situation where Dick Grayson has encountered and is facing Powers and all of that, Derek Powers and all that, and he's getting, wise to what's going on. And there's a fight and he ends up going out the window. And right there is Bruce to basically be like, here, if you remember how to use one of these, and drops um a grappling gun at him. And then you have this beautiful moment where you see their shadows, and then there's Dick, and then there's Bruce. I love the use of the shadows, and that's not only in that moment where they do the shadows, because there's shadows throughout. But that was one of my favorite usage of it. And Derek Powers has got this radiation um, suit that he's wearing to become his own like villain, superhero, whatever he thinks he is. And he goes to fire it on. It's kind of like a radiation ghost rider kind of thing. Um, that's what it looks like to me. Um, when he goes to fire it on Bruce, Dick steps in the way and takes the hit. So right now it's kind of up in the air because the last image is that now. So basically, what we have here is we have Batman is coming to the realization that he needs people. We have everyone's rose-colored glasses are starting to come off. We have him also. We have Bruce dealing with, how do I get to be Batman and also be Bruce, and love people the way I do. And we have everybody coming together to be the Bruce Bats support team again. Um, and you know the thing that bothers me the most about this is the fact that we're not getting an issue in November. Um, there's so much beautiful, heartfelt shit in this issue, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because we're going to talk about more beautiful, heartfelt shit in my book of the week, which Catwoman Lonely City, number 4. It's the end of the story. Prestige Plus, Cliff Chang did it all. Well, let's see here. Did he do the lettering? Let me see if he did the lettering. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, he did everything. This is all Cliff Chang. Everything. Every beautiful, tear-wrenching moment was Cliff Chang. This is the conclusion, like I was saying, to the Catwoman Lonely City title, which, if it does not become, over the years, one of these quintessential Catwoman stories, I don't know. I don't know. Because it is literally, I think it's the Catwoman story for all of us here, because yeah, it's the Catwoman story for us all, because we all get to that point where, the knees hurt a little bit more, and but we want to make, we want to do right by everyone, and we, you know, how do I even put this? I think we spend a lot of time not knowing our worth in our lives also. And that's definitely a theme here in Catwoman Lonely City. Um, what's hard about the one thing that is hard about, and this is something that is echoed across the land, is the inconsistency in release dates for these books. They are telling some of the best stories in the DC Black Label, but to have them not be consistent in their release schedule, for them to not have transparency involving certain books that we have been waiting for as an audience, is frustrating. However, Catwoman Lonely City Book 4 transcends that frustration, to give a heartbreaking ending. We'll call it bittersweet. So, the whole concept of Catwoman Lonely City is Catwoman has just gotten out of jail, for a 10-year stint with, or prison, 10-year stint with, she was convicted of a murder she did not commit, which is the murder of Batman. This happens on a night where all hell breaks loose, and a lot of people die. Dick Grayson dies, Harley Quinn dies, Batman dies. Lots of people get killed in everything that happens. And this is all like kind of a little bit of a Citizen Kane kind of situation where, um, Catwoman is there to witness Batman's last words. Um, which get brought up again in this book. So it's the whole series is centered around the idea that Catwoman is going to pull off one last heist based upon the final words of Batman, Bruce Wayne. And basically he's like, you've got to get Orpheus. So she's, you got to get into the cave, you got to get Orpheus. Okay. So she's going to get into the cave and she puts together this team. It doesn't always work out, but by the time she makes it in there, she's going to have Etrigan, the demon, and Poison Ivy is with her. I love this flashback where you find out about the moment that Batman does die. Okay. Which is part of the goddamn heartbreak here. Okay? Because they find out what Orpheus is. They get into the cave, they find out what Orpheus is. Orpheus is like Batman's own version and concocted version of the Lazarus pit that doesn't quite work. They find out that when he gave this treatment to Alfred, Alfred was better, was able to get out of bed, but he aged at a really expeditious rate to the point where, yes, Alfred could get out of bed from the disease he had and that kind of thing, but he was gone within a week. But he was able to act normal and everything like that. And but you get this moment where in this flashback, and they're still trying to get into the cave, where she's just like, you're bleeding, or he's like, you're bleeding, he's concerned about her bleeding, and she's like, just keep breathing, just relax, and he's like mortally wounded, okay, from an explosion, and he says, never enough time. I need to make it a point with what he says. Never enough time for us. Should have trusted you more. Never enough time for us. And the lettering is key here, because where the fuck is it on the page? For us. It's in bold. Bruce is saying, I wish I had more time with you, Selina. I wish I had trusted you more, Selina. I wish there was more time for us. And at this point, she finds out about Orpheus, and everything like that. And they get into the cave, and they find out what Orpheus is. And they see the video, and there's this moment where it shows they find out what Orpheus is, that it's this small pit inside the Batcave, where it would have brought him in if she was able to get him there and brought him in, he would have brought himself back, but it would have only been for a week. And she thinks it's about fighting as Batman for another week. But if you watch, they watch the videos. It was not about bringing him back to be Batman for a week. It was about having more time for us. She gets there. they see the videos, and it's basically like um, we have the video of him and Alfred, and Alfred's up, and Alfred's like, you shouldn't be up, Alfred, you shouldn't be, and he's like, nonsense, my boy, and besides, I'm simply ravenous. I do hope you'll join me. And it was the explanation is Batman was able to bond the Lazarus Pit solution to another chemical agent, Bane's venom. Um, and the each compound negates the other side each other's side effects, so that was how he was able to pull them together. And they're like, well, what's the catch? And then there's video that shows, well, this is only 1 week later. Alfred has aged dramatically in 1 week, and the video is him and Bruce talking, and says, not tonight, Alfred, we don't know how much time you have. And Alfred's like, I'm begging you, sir. I'm begging your pardon, sir, but we never know. And he says, but keeping you from your duties would, or he says, my life has been remarkably free of regrets. Alfred says this. My life has been remarkably free of regrets, but keeping you from your duties would be one of them. My dear boy, I'm ever so proud of you. And he's handing Batman the cape. He's handing Bruce the cape, telling him to go out and be Batman. And Bruce doesn't want to go. And he doesn't want to go because he wants to spend time with Alfred. It's emotional. I'm sorry. And Alfred died later that night when he wasn't there. And then Selina jumps right to saying that she thinks Bruce wanted her to bring him to the pit so that he can be Batman one more week. God damn it, Selina. He wanted to have another week with you. She said there was never enough time for us. And she gets through everything. Like, she's there, she gets into the cave, she discovers it, and she immediately thinks it was about Batman. Because, well, I mean, it was always about Batman before. What's to tell her anything's any different except for his final words? So you have that moment. Then you have Harvey Dent, who is losing his mind as mayor again, and he is trying to destroy them and also get any kind of like technology that is sitting in the Batcave, um, and they're getting attacked. Um, and then there's this moment where Etrigan and Ivy and Selina are getting attacked, and Ivy pushes Selina out of the way and sacrifices herself to save her. I'm trying to find it right now in the book. So, like, it's not looking good. Like, it's looking pretty gosh darn bad. And then you turn the page, and all hell is breaking loose. She's like, but don't you worry about me. I'm a perennial baby. And you have this moment right here where Ivy just lets loose. She's talking to Harvey. And she says, I know the kind of Gotham you want, Harvey. cold and heartless just like you. But this is my city too. A city that nurtured a scared young woman, that taught her to love and accept herself. I won't let you take that away from me or anyone else. As I mentioned earlier when talking about this, the event that all this stems out of, April Fool's, um, the Fool's Day um, events. Ivy lost Harley Quinn that night, and if you are a regular reader of anything Harley Quinn, Harley refers to Gotham as her city. It's my city. And every bit of me thinks that Cliff Chang was writing that not because Ivy is talking about herself. She is doing all of that in honor of, she is saving Gotham. She is saving everything in honor of Harley. Um, and that nobody is ever going to take that away from her. Like they took Harley away from her. That to me, contextually, reading between the lines, it's exactly what Poison Ivy is saying in that moment, that nobody is going to take that away from her. Nobody is going to take all that away from her, so she sacrifices herself. And then Selina goes and she makes the decision to destroy the cave. She destroys Batman's cave. Everything starts blowing up. She looks like she's going to be going down with the cave. And Edward Nigma, who she turned away, and his daughter, whom she turned away in a previous issue, comes to save her. They come to save her. And she's able to get out. And they deal with Harvey. Um, and then the entire Wayne Manor collapses underneath, um, over everything. Election night happens, and Barbara Gordon becomes mayor, and there's this beautiful moment. There's a tree growing out of the wreckage of Wayne Manor. And so she's, Selina's off, doing her thing. She's letting Edward in. I like that. I like that very much, that she's starting this relationship with, she's moving on with Edward Nigma. Um, I actually really like that. I was like, you know what? Actually, you wouldn't think that that would work. You wouldn't think that that would look good, and that would work. But got me believing here. And I really love that she meets up with Barbara Gordon, who's the newly elected mayor, and they're talking about she's gonna need help, um, kind of incognito, involving all the scum that still exists in that world. And she's just like, Catwoman is like, Selina's like, you um she's not completely sold on doing anything like that, and Barbara's kind of trying to talk her into it. And she says, I'm sorry, Barbara, I was wrong about these new buildings. They look great at night, like jewels. And that's the last image that you see, is her kind of smiling about the idea of the city looking like a bunch of jewels, and she and her team could do something, and it's so heartbreaking, but you know what? Sometimes stories get to end and be bittersweet, you know. Yeah, she didn't get it. She didn't get it. And that's the point. That's it's so beautifully sad. So take time for your loved ones and always listen when they tell you that they love you. That's what I'm going to leave you guys with tonight. So that's it for tonight. And I will be seeing you guys very soon. It's the officially unofficial geek channel, the Spoilertastic Weekly Comic Review. Sorry it took so long, but guys, it was a lot of comics. And you know me. Listen to your loved ones when they tell you that they love you. Just let people love you. And I'll be seeing ya. Happy Halloween, guys! Bye!